Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the grand finals of PK Clan Tournament number 4. Today, we have game number 2 in this best of 11 series between Garja and Boneng, both of which are competing for that first and second place split of the $1,950 cash prize. So, in the north of the map here, well, actually, in the east of the map, more to the point, we have Garja in the colour red today, playing as Germany. Certainly an interesting civilization choice, given the map that we are on. And this map, as you can see by this plantation, is actually Saguenay, where you start with a random economic building. And by random, the most useful would probably be a market. And again, by random, the least useful would probably be a plantation. So, both players do get the same building, so it is fair, but neither player would be wanting to use that plantation, since coin mines, of course, are a far faster source of coin. Plantations are actually gather at 0.5 coin per second, whereas your coin mine is 0.6 coin per second, so no-brainer there. Anyway, it is a strange civilization choice, and that is because we have the element of the water, which I'll show you over here. Of course, the water has the whales in it, which are an infinite source of coin, though you can only have 4 gatherers per whale, and also got the fish, which are 500 food per patch and gather very quickly. So both players, you would think, would want to fight over this, and here Garja just grabbing himself 90 coin there like a beast. Really useful treasure if you have a market early on, which unfortunately he does not. And I believe he only started with 100 wood, and I can confirm that by the fact we only see a house there. So if he'd actually found that coin at the very beginning of the game, he might have wanted to build a market with that wood that he started with instead of a house, and then use the coin that he found, along with, we can see he's found 90 coin, which is the one there, and also 40 coin, and, sorry, that's Boneng. We see 90 coin and 50 coin, resulting in 140 coin, of course, and then buy some wood at the market, and then build a house with it, and of course, then collect a tiny bit more wood, tiny bit more coin, then you can build, well, research hunting dogs. But anyway, the fishing ships, not a good thing for Germany, because they don't have the schooners shipment, and let's take a look at their deck here. Doesn't have schooners, though he has got water capabilities. We see 2 caravels, the improved warships there for 25% attack and hit points, and also in Age 3, a frigate. All very, very necessary on a water map in, of course, your deck. But without schooners, he's not going to be able to take the water, at least very effectively anyway, because schooners decreases the cost of fishing ships from 100 wood to 40 wood. It's a 60% decrease, and it just seems... I'm going to be interested to see what build order he goes. Perhaps he's going to be playing very aggressively to make up the fact that there isn't going to be any opportunity for him to take the water here. Going for 150 food, an excellent treasure to find. Going to help him age up a bit quicker if he can get that before he starts to age. Going to creep this like a beast, of course, run away from the polar bear, and then as the polar bear starts to run back towards the treasure, turn around and shoot it. 2 settler wagons on the way. Now, we'll switch over to Boneng and talk about what he's up to. He's playing Portuguese today, going for 135 XP there. Really nice job. Certainly going to help him out. Anyway, Portuguese, very strong on the water, actually. They do have schooners. In fact, every European civilization except Germany and France do. So, any other civilization that isn't Germany and France would make sense on this map. But there we have it. Portuguese, very strong on the water, and his first home city shipment is going to be schooners. Normally you would send settlers, but Portuguese cannot actually send settlers. So, I think we're going to see an all-in boat boom here. Especially judging from the fact that every settler he has is now tasked to wood. There is actually no settlers on food at all, meaning food income is actually stopped, and he won't have any food to start making settlers with when he hits up. Bearing in mind that he will have a second town centre, from which it would probably be a good idea to start training settlers from. So, not going to have the food to do that, but it kind of makes sense that all of the settlers are on wood, because he's going to, of course, build a dock, and I no doubt think that he'll send a settler over there any moment now. Before I continue my discussion, I'm afraid I will have to turn the graphics down, which I should have done a few minutes ago, actually, because I don't know if you can notice, but it does actually make the game run tremendously slower than it just plays back so much slower for some reason, and it really does affect the length of the recordings and makes my videos longer than they need to be. So that is unfortunate. For some reason, it doesn't slow the game down whilst I'm playing myself, but when I watch recorded games, and I've tested this with many people, it's very odd, and it's very frustrating, because I would much rather bring higher quality videos, but that is that. Here we see the dock going down, and no doubt he'll start trading fishing ships at a discounted price, and then that will supplement the food income, and he'll start to train settlers from it. But the reason... settlers from the town centre, that is. But the reason Portuguese is so strong on the water is not only do they get schooners, but having that town centre, if we take a look at its stats, anti-ship attack of 75, you basically have an outpost which is really, really strong versus ships, and you can just stick that up on the coast to protect your fishing operation. Anyway, we'll switch over to Gaia and see what he's up to. We'll turn Fog of War on, and yeah, he doesn't do a lot of scouting. He was grabbing that 150 food treasure, which took quite a while, and scouted the parameters of his base to find those resources to bring in. Of course, this hunt, he can start to shoot them back. With regards to herds, he's not doing too well. He's only got the one hunt here, and Boneng does actually have more hunts than him, as you can see, surrounded by food, which is really going to help him out with this defensive water boon that he's most likely going to be doing. But yeah, here we see perhaps a more aggressive strategy then, a forward settler coming forward, of course, for that barracks, and he's actually going to pop up an outpost on the coast here. Perhaps then, Gaia has intentions of tower rushing, which is where you pop up a forward tower and then use it as a home city shipment point for, of course, military shipments, and then you can be super aggressive with that. We're about to find out. I'm unsure how well a tower rush would perform on this map, judging by the fact that, well, he's playing against a Portuguese player, so providing those, you know, well, you could say send 8 crossbowmen here, and then pressure the settlers with them very quickly. But the tower it doesn't look like that is his intention. The tower is just there for, of course, to control the water, and that's going to give him 100 anti-ship damage to, you know, make it more difficult for Boneng to take the water here. 700 wood is his first shipment, so I imagine we'll just be seeing standard crossbow pikes. But we'll switch over to Boneng, see what he's doing. And as we can see, a wall is going up here. And if this wall had gone up a little bit sooner, it would have been really, really effective. But at the moment, as you can see, that tower center's just gone up. And now that it's gone up, the line of sight has told him that there is a barracks here and a tower already up. So I imagine he'll probably abandon that operation. Here we see Gaia's settler standing on the foundations there to stop the wall going up. Of course, Gaia can't see the foundations, but he can predict that they're there. He'll probably get the settler back to work now, but certainly a good wall can be very, very effective, as you can see. That if you can get that up and your opponent builds the barracks behind your wall, that means they have to either siege down the wall, which gives you a huge amount of extra time that you otherwise wouldn't have had, or they go round the wall, and that also wastes a lot of time. But Boneng is, I believe, his first shipment was 700 wood, and he's now halfway through the Minutemen shipment, the Colonial Militia, and he doesn't actually have any military buildings here. Just has 3 docks, going for a triple boat boom spam of the ships here. And I'm interested to see how this pans out without any military. 5 crossmen here from Gaia have already popped. We'll switch over to Gaia very briefly and see what he's up to. Of course, first shipment 700 wood. Second shipment about to arrive, and we'll see what it is. Of course, actually now grabbing the trading site, so perhaps investing into land as one already up, a second foundation down. 3 settlers, or 3 settler wagons, more to the point, is his next home city shipment. So looking to actually land boom, whilst putting on a little bit of aggression with the, of course, crossbowmen. But we'll see how this pans out. I'm really a little bit concerned for him, because I was expecting something a bit more aggressive. Perhaps this will work, though. You can keep up with a water boom, at least for the time being. You cannot, however, keep up indefinitely. A water boom will overboom you or outplay you, more to the point, eventually. But Boneng here, still no military buildings by the looks of it, and just his first shipment, 700 wood, just to get the boats going, the boat spam. And then followed it up with Colonial Militia, which is also a very interesting card to send, because if you think about it, it doesn't actually provide you any bonus. It's just, it doesn't give you any tangible bonus, if you know what I mean. Like, for example, if you ship 700 wood, like, say, well, both of them did, 700 wood, you can turn that in, as soon as you collect it up, that's 7 score added to the game total, which you see Boneng's on 72, Gaia is on 80. And these crossbowmen are worth 0.8 score each, since, of course, they were worth 80 resources each. But Colonial Militia does not add anything to your score the moment it has arrived. It is not tangible, and you'll only start to see that benefit coming in once it starts to kill your opponent's units. Of course, the Colonial Militia increases the attack damage of the town centre by 50%, meaning that with regards to defence, if he can, as you can see there, keep a very close eye on the settlers, he's got a few settlers up here, 10 settlers nearby this town centre just to enable its ability to shoot, and of course, keeping them nearby, they can collect the wood there, which he needs anyway, and he can use them to be kind of defensive. And this boom is just going absolutely crazy, and it's being almost unopposed. I mean, the only difficulties he's facing is a little bit of land aggression. Providing he can keep the settlers popping in and out of this town centre, he should be okay. As I was saying, the Colonial Militia bonus isn't going to come into effect until it's been able to kill some units, and that is, I guess, what it does. It also gives you access to more Minutemen, which he can use should he need to, though they are rather expensive. 600 wood now arriving as his next home city shipment to continue this boat spam. He's floating a lot of resources, and I think it's probably about time to put down a military building, but at the moment, does he really need one? Take a look at what Guy is doing. All he has is just a couple of crossbowmen to pressure the settlers with, and I'm interested to kind of see what Guy is going to do. Looks like he is just going to go for a full land boom. Has built up all of the trading sites along this route here, and will most likely get the upgrade for it, and that is going to be a very nice income of resources. But the point is, he still actually only has 23 settlers there, so 23, we'll take a look at how many settler wagons he's got. 8 settler wagons, so we'd have to add 8 more settlers to his total, which is essentially a 31. We'll count it as 32 settlers now this one has been popped. So 32 settlers up against Boneng's 48. Trading routes or not, Boneng is going to get very, very far ahead very quickly if nothing is done. And the water is just plain uncontested so far, so I'm interested to see what Guy is doing. We'll take a look at the shipments he's sent so far, and he's looks like he is just continuously harassing the settlers there, keeping them in and out of the town centre to stop them gathering resources and at best kill some. But the military he has is just dwindling down to nothing, since of course the town centres are being used very efficiently to counter the units there. Gaia, so far, his shipments were, of course, 2 settlers, no-brainer in Age 1, really helps you out over time. The best shipment in the game for Age 1, 2 settler wagons is the equivalent of 4 settlers and makes it the best settler shipment. Sent by 6 settlers, or 3 settler wagons, again, the best colonial age settler shipment. And also 700 wood and 700 coins. So it looks like a semi-fast fortress build, and of course with a little bit of aggression early on to perhaps kill some settlers and slow it down, or at least the Portuguese, slow the Portuguese down a little bit. And then going up to the fortress age for those more powerful, of course, military shipments. He's got a huge trading route to support this fortress. So if the aggression can get piled on now, this is where it's gonna happen. And also, of course, those stronger military units generally. Skirmishers, of course, very nice. And also, he's now perhaps going to be able to contest Boneng for the water, since he has access to frigates, very powerful boats. So this is where it's really going to get going. We see now that Gaia is up in the fortress age. Boneng suddenly decides it's probably a good time to lay down a stable, his first military building there. Going up to the fortress age himself, going up with the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, who will grant him 400 wood and a caravel. But at the moment, he has been uncontested on the water for this boom, and as absolutely outrageous boom. I imagine, well, I was going to say, it's actually uncontested, so yeah, his age up choice is going to be useful. That caravel should be able to help him protect there. And also the fortress age, you'll have access to frigates and stuff as well. A wall going up here, but again, Boneng being very quick on getting the settler in the town centre, putting some more settlers in the town centre to enable the full effect of the damage that it can do. This wall, though, is going to be quite useful. If he can get that to stop units from coming in around on the side of the water, he can have settlers gathering from the trees here, unopposed by perhaps cavalry units. And also, he can stick even artillery pieces. It's an interesting wall, but it can be quite useful. Again, it's also near these trees, which creates some pathing issues for him. Anyway, we'll switch over to Gaia and see what he's up to. We see, of course, his first military shipment in the Fortress Age was 8 skirmishers, and now he's using those skirmishers to pressure his opponent the best he can with the military that he has. A town centre wagon popping out here, 3 Yolans coming in to try and kill it, bring it down, but here it looks like Gaia has actually, or what's the point, Boneng has actually been forced to place the town centre there, whether he wanted it there or not, and that is because those Yolans would have actually got to the wagon and brought it down. Gaia is not going to go in there with the skirmishers that he does have, because the town centres on either side are just shooting at the skirmishers and he's going to lose them down. So he can't actually take that out. But over here we see a frigate, which was of course his second shipment here, and he's using that to now pressure the water to stop this boat boom. This one caravel won't be enough to bring it down, but we do see now Gaia shipping even more to keep 2 caravels actually to keep the pressure up on the water. Actually sending a colonial age shipment, which is by no means efficient, especially when you're in the fortress age. You want to be sending those fortress age shipments, but he kind of needs it to take on the water. Boneng has a huge economy over here, and it's he's got a frigate on the way to kind of protect the boats here, but at the moment Boneng really doesn't care. He can just stick these in the dock, garrison them like settlers into the dock, then the docks have a ranged attack to defend, and he has this frigate now to defend as well. And anyway, he has a town centre on the coast. There's no way this frigate's going to get too close to him. Likewise, though, there is a town, as you can see there, that town centre making short work of the boat. You really do not want to be in range here. But these cavalry just trying to kill settlers, but really up against 2 town centres, they're just going to get knocked over. It's these skirmishers again. And now we see, again, the 2 caravels have arrived to take on this frigate, but again, just these shipments are going to run out. He doesn't have a dock. Well, he does actually. He does have a dock. Adding in more outposts here, bringing the boats back towards the outposts so that the outposts can do the fighting. The boats will not fight against outposts, and this is the difference, in my opinion, between Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3, where in Age of Empires 2, if you lose the water, it's very, very difficult to get it back. In Age 3, though, players can control sections of the water because offshore support from outposts are so strong that other boats will not want to get anywhere near. At the moment, though, neither player really has the force to take on the other side, but Boneng, again, really doesn't care. He's got a huge amount of fishing just going on here, and his economy is just getting super far ahead. And if you think about it, yes, Garja has just been massing up units here, but so what? The economy difference is just getting huge. At the moment, the scores are very similar. And again, as I say, a land boom can kind of keep up with the water boom, but just not indefinitely. Eventually, it will get out of control. But 33 settlers for the German player here. We'll have to take a look at how many settler wagons he has. He's got 8 of them still, so he's actually basically on a 41 settler economy. We compare that to Boneng's 72, and he's going up to the industrial age. Really, you know, hasn't been investing in the military here, just going for full boat boom, and has been able to kind of tank the damage so far just by garrisoning outposts, or in town centers more to the point, which have huge amounts of damage due to the colonial militia. Colonial militia kind of gave him a fairly slow start, though. A little bit of fighting going on in the water here. I imagine these frigates and stuff will actually get out of the way. They're going to take down that caravel there and then leave because they don't want to take too much damage from the offshore support. Anyway. Slow start or not, though, Boneng's build order is just something and a half. I'm really impressed with what he's chosen to do here. Just going all in for a fish boom and really not caring about military is ballsy. I think, though, it might be, if you're going to expect this, I think it's fairly easily countered. Germany, though, struggle, I think, primarily due to the fact that, well, we take a look at his home city, doesn't have stuff like cannons. Germany don't have the 2 Falconet shipment, and I think that's an issue, certainly, for having enough siege, and also, of course, cannons are very effective at countering that which is on the water. But we'll take a look at what Boneng is up to now. He's obviously reached up to the Fortress Age, or even that, the Industrial Age, and Industrial Age means two things. You can have access to factories, which are just outrageously good at generating resources, and also you have the option then to spawn cannons as well. And also you have that 2 heavy cannon shipment, which is just outrageously strong. 2 heavy cannons. Heavy cannons are very, very hard to deal with because, honestly, they're not very... Cavalry, of course, will do good damage to them, since anything that gets into hand combat with a cannon does good damage, but they have a lot of hit points, heavy cannons, and if you have enough anti-cavalry, you should... Any cavalry that get near the cannons should go down before, and the cannon should stay alive. It's got enough hit points to do so. So the only real counter to heavy cannons is, of course, culverins. So all this guy needs to do, really, all Boneng needs to do is just keep massing up these veteran dragoons, and as we know, dragoons, one of Portuguese's stronger units, and also good counters to cavalry. He should be okay. The heavy cannons will carry him and just give him the siege potential he needs to really take this game forward. 2 cannons here spawning behind the wall next to the coastline. Of course, this wall's going to protect him a little bit and also stop anything from coming in. We have a little bit of conflict down here. Of course, these dragoons were coming in to harass the explorer. Maybe they wanted to start sieging down that trading post. We'll discuss what that trading post is for in a moment. But here we can see Garja setting up for this quite nicely. Going to try and trap these 3 hussars coming on the side. 3 more, not hussars actually, sorry. They are, of course, Uhlans coming in, getting the dragoons into hand combat to slow them down. Normally, of course, you don't want to get cavalry near dragoons. It's, of course, dragoons counter cavalry, but these Doppelsuddeners closing in on them with, of course, the skirmishers in the back, and that was quite nicely done. He went from, of course, trying to escape all the way around the side here, losing dragoons all the way back until we got to this location here. Garja doing a very nice job, but how much will it mean? We see the second factory arriving, one already up and running, and I believe that, I don't know what this is, it's generating coin at 5.5 coin per second. So I imagine what he's trying to do here is get the resources for the Dragoon upgrade. Of course, Dragoon's going to go for the Janites, which are extremely strong, but I've just noticed something on the minimap, which we'll have to switch over to Garja. Yes, he's been training, as we can see, a ton of canoes, and that is the reason he built this, so he can train canoes. You garrison the canoes in your dock, and then you let them all out at once, unleash the hounds when you've got enough of them, and then you can just challenge your opponent's fishing operation. These have a very high attack damage, though they don't have very many hit points, and then if your opponent tries to oppose you, you just garrison them in the dock, because they are technically fishing boats as well. So, very, very useful unit, and you could say a little bit cheesy, but they're very effective at kind of bringing your opponent off the water. And then he can pop these out and start harassing the fishing boats again. But I think the damage has already been done on the water, just at the point where he's kind of able to stabilize and kind of oppose Boneng on the water. A lot of the fish are already gone, and all that remains really is the whales. And the whales are, of course, an infinite source of coin. All the food is gone, therefore the damage is gone. The resources have been gathered, and Boneng is just really quite far ahead due to that. The scores are still fairly even, so Gaia is by no means out, but he is going to struggle up against heavy cannons, and we'll switch over to Boneng. Yes, he is starting to build heavy cannons at the factories here. Now sending this upgrade here, the one that increases the Portuguese cavalry, or more to the point, veteran dragoons, increases the line of sight, and no doubt he will be thinking about that dragoon upgrade soon. And once you get the attack upgrade on these, you have the Royal Guard Dragoons, called Janites, which are, 20% attack and hit points from the veteran upgrade, and then 40% more attack and hit points from that, which is actually more than a regular guard upgrade for Dragoons. It also has the extra range on them, making them very, very strong and very good at countering, well, nearly anything, because they can get shots off before regular Dragoons. They don't have to get quite as close, makes them much more effective at countering artillery. And here we see Gaia going for the only unit that really can counter heavy cannons. You see, letting that barracks die, because he doesn't have what he needs to get near these cannons just yet. Of course, training culverins, and there are 4 culverins being trained here. Clearly quite worried about these, because he's probably expecting more. This is, of course, the 2 cannon shipment, and cannons stacked with dragoons protected them. Very, very formidable. Culverin, this could go very, very interestingly, actually. If these cannons go down, then Guy will be in a very strong spot, and at the moment, it looks like he's going to be able to snipe these. We'll switch to Boneng's point of view. He doesn't know that those culverins are there just yet, and if they go down, then really this huge investment of cannons, which take a long time to train, are just going to be eliminated. The culverins coming in now to do the damage. One goes down, they might be able to get the second one. They have a huge range on them. It's longer than other artillery, these culverins, bringing in the dragoons forward. Not quite the guard dragoon, but he has the upgrade here. They are going to be fairly good, actually, at countering culverins. By no means the strongest unit. Of course, cavalry doing hand damage are going to be very, very strong at countering culverin, but there's no way you get any hand cavalry close to the Doppelsoldners. Besides, dragoons, when they're upgraded this much, with the extra range, they do seriously well against artillery anyway, because they have a ×2 multiplier, and as I say, hand cavalry are stronger at countering, well, artillery, but that's because these have a ranged resist of 75, so they do soak up 75% of the damage that the Janite can do, but since it is upgraded so much, it should be able to do fairly well. But these Doppelsoldners closing in, not letting them get anywhere near those culverins. So the culverins bringing down the heavy cannons, and the Doppelsoldners getting up really close and personal, using their massive area damage versus cavalry, bringing down all of these Janites, which have been stacked into the corner there. A really, really nice comeback from Gaia. Performed that really, really nicely. And I think if he can keep the pressure up, is this game over this boat coming in, the frigate incoming in to do some devastating damage to these artillery pieces, but it's not going to be enough because, of course, like all artillery, culverins are very, very strong at countering boats, and he's not going to let them get near. Here, yes, these dragoons are very, very strong, but skirmishers are still the hard counter. 18 damage multiplied by 2 versus light cavalry or ranged cavalry. And at the moment, he doesn't have the kind of the army to take on what Gaia has here. The 2 cannons, though, will effectively deal with the skirmishers, but with 3 culverins lurking around, he needs to be very, very careful. Alright, now, starting to add in a wall. This game is officially now into the late game. So, Gaia, not quite out of this yet, still has a few things left to go. Although, we take a look at Boneng, he has a 78 settler economy, which is absolutely huge. And yes, Gaia managed to perform that quite well, but he doesn't have the eco behind him to keep the pressure up. His units are not going to keep up with the ones that Boneng can produce. Of course, these cavalry with the crazy range on them, and the, of course, Royal Guard upgrade. Just a regular Guard upgrade is scary enough, and these ones are just outrageous. We see here now sending refrigeration from the home city, just investing in these more late game late game cards. So I guess now is as good a time as any to discuss the shipments he sent. Of course, we saw 2 and 3 settlers early on, 700 wood, 700 coin. Of course, went up with that semi-fast fortress, which was not what I was expecting. I think against his opponent here, not having access to the falconets as a home city shipment is, as I said earlier, a difficulty. And also a colonial agenda, it would be hard to pull off against what Portugal is doing as well, because Germany don't have musketeers. So I think Germany is actually one of the civilizations that struggled the most here against Portuguese on this, against what Boneng is doing. But yeah, then started to send, once he hit the Fortress Age, of course, has this trading route to support the Fortress Age military very, very nicely. Sent cards such as, 8 skirmishes to keep pressure up, frigate, but has now actually sent 1,000 wood. I guess that was for the canoes, and now thinking about these royal mint and refrigeration, because at this point in the game, military units are not going to help him. He has economy up and running, and he needs to, refrigeration is really certainly going to help him out a lot more, because once you have, say, 50 settlers, a 10% bonus to settler gathering is like essentially like a 5 settler shipment, so, except it's a 20% bonus, or at that 25. Well, no, it is 20%. Anyway, it looks like a little bit of conflict's going to get going. As you can see here, Boneng's economy really, really coming to fruition here. I guess we'll switch over to him and discuss his the shipment decisions through the course of the game. But Janites really just massing them up, and even though skirmishes are in theory the counter, Janites here are just so strong. They've got such a huge range of attacks, so many hit points, and these skirmishes are, of course, one tier below, just veteran skirmishes. They're not going to stand up very well to the Janites, and even at that, he's got a very strong counter to skirmishes here, heavy cannons, and really, what has Gaia got to defend that is plenty of culverins, and I guess that's really what he's going to need. Starting to add in the Doppelstuddens, I guess, to stop the Janites from getting too close to his units. Also the anti-cavalry there, and this is his siege potential for any damage he might come and be able to do, but it looks like Boneng really is thinking about pushing out here. Gaia now sending economic theory, just again with these economy upgrades, trying to stay in the late game by, of course, keeping the economy up to date. We'll switch over to Boneng though, and as you can see, actually now he's starting to get mill upgrades. He could actually push out with his settlers and start to take the hunts, which actually would be efficient, but at this point he is very, very far ahead, so really, does he need to? Anyway, this looks like it's going to start to happen soon. Both players playing a little bit passively. I guess Boneng really just waiting for his huge, massive cannons to come along, and then he really can start to get going there. But let's take a look at his shipment so far. Of course, we saw schooners as the very first shipment. Really, really good one for getting that economy going. And of course, since you don't have settlers, it's it kind of, I could say, it gives Portuguese the opportunity to send that as their very first and go for this all-in water boom. They then, of course, sent colonial militia. It was a fairly slow way to start the game, but certainly it paid off. We saw how efficiently he was able to deal with his opponent's stuff from just the tiny little bit of a colonial aggression before Gaia went up to the Fortress Age. And then, he didn't actually send many Fortress Age shipments. He sent a frigate, I guess, to help defend, and has actually sent improved warships. I think he sent that a little bit later on. I think the fight, however, is about to get going. We see the Janites coming in to kind of take down these culverins. Oh my lord, all those skirmishes going down. Without these culverins, there was absolutely no way he's going to deal with the cannons here, and those dragoons being used very, very efficiently to kill them, taking absolutely huge losses on these veteran Doppelstuddners, and really, it just goes to show how strong heavy cannons are, especially en masse, and Gaia there just lost all of his army for almost doing no damage, just to Janice being able to get in there and just one bang a cannon with a bunch, and then one bang another culverin, and then just taking a few shots, getting your units just a little bit too close to heavy cannons, and as you can see, your units just go bang. But I guess before I end the recording, we'll go back to finishing this discussion here. He went up to Fortress and sent 2 cannons, of course the factories, to get this cannon spam going, and of course this upgrade here, which increases the range and line of sight of his Janites. But the interesting ones, of course, well, you can kind of expect rendering plant for the fishing boat upgrade. He did have a very strong fish boom, and that kind of makes sense. But improved warships when there was not really that, he sent this at a time when there wasn't that much aggression going on. But really, if you have both town centers next to the coast here, and you build your economy next to the coast, warships, as I said earlier in the game, I think, are one of the strongest counter to land units in this game. So if you can build all of your economy on the coast and have a navy, the navy is going to be able to defeat a land army, and the land army is not going to be able to get too close. So that kind of makes sense as a shipment there, a really, really defensive one. But taking this game into the late industrial age for the victory. Really nice build order there from Boneng, but I've got on long enough. Thank you very much for watching. This concludes the second game of the Grand Finals. I'm not going to give away the results of the first game, so you will have to watch that one. I think, though, towards the end of the series, I will start to kind of give the game results away, because I expect people to really kind of watch the games in order, though I guess not everybody wants to watch every single game. I guess you don't all have time, but that's fair enough. Again, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Interjection. I will see you tomorrow for the third game in the series.